Hello viewers. If you are planning to build your IT career in the field of data analytics, database development, database administration, or anything related to data, then you must have a client tool to connect to the database. In this tutorial, I am going to show you how to download and install this free tool from Oracle called SQL Developer in Windows, Mac, or Linux operating system. So viewers, you may be already aware of this GUI-based software from Oracle called SQL Developer, which is a very useful tool for database development and administrative activities. But beyond that, this tool has extended its capabilities, and currently it has also become a very handy tool for application architect, data modeler, and data analysts also. This tool is in place for many years now, and the best thing is it is free and it is available for most of the widely used operating systems like Windows, Linux, and Mac. And it can be used with database other than Oracle also, like Microsoft SQL Server, Microsoft Access, Sybase, MySQL, Teradata, IBM DB2, etc. If you are planning to build your career as a data professional, then this tool is a must to begin with. Now, let's start with downloading and installing Microsoft SQL Developer application, and then we will learn how to connect to an Oracle database using this application. Please note that this tutorial is only for showing the installation procedure of the SQL Developer application and how to establish a connection to an Oracle database. I am using a very basic SQL query to validate the connection here. I will cover more on SQLs, that is the structured query language, different types of SQL statements, SQL scripts, how to run or save them, how to see their execution plan, how to do performance tuning, etc. on future tutorials to help start your career as a data professional. Now, to download SQL Developer, we will go to Google and search for download SQL Developer. And in the results, we will click on this first link from Oracle, SQL Developer Downloads. And in this page from Oracle, we see the latest version available for us to download this SQL Developer version 23.1.1, which is the latest and which was made available on December 15th, 2023. Based on when you are downloading this application, this version may vary. Now, below we see all the platforms on which SQL Developer application is available. That is, the first one is Windows 64-bit, Windows 32-bit, Mac OS X, Mac ARM64, Linux, RPMs, and other platforms. And we can see that along with the Windows 64-bit installables, we also have JDK 11 included here. This is important. To run SQL Developer application, you must have Java installed in that computer. So this Windows 64-bit comes with the JDK 11, so you don't have to separately or additionally install JDK in your machine. Whatever Java components are required, it will come along with the 64-bit Windows installable itself. But with the Windows 32-bit installable, this JDK is not available, so you have to additionally download it. This is my 64-bit Windows 10 computer, but this application works with older version of Windows, such as Windows XP or even Windows 2000 platform also. It has a dependency on JDK, and the minimum version should be 11. That comes along with the installer itself. You just need around 1 gigs free space in the installation location, and it does not have any specific demand for memory or CPU. If you have at least 4 gigs of memory and even one CPU as old as Pentium 4, you should be good to go. And I'm sure you will have higher configuration than that. Now let's click on this download link here, which will download the installable of size 465 MB. It is asking for my Oracle account credentials, but in case you don't have an Oracle account, you can create it for free using your email ID. Just click on this create account button and it will walk you through all the steps. It's very simple and it's free. I will use my personal email ID to log into my Oracle account. and we can see the download has started. It will hardly take a few seconds based on the speed of your internet, and the download has been completed. Now let's go to our download folder, and we see a zip archive for the installables are available, and the installation is actually quite straightforward. I'll just double click on this zip archive to open it in the WinZip application and extract this folder called SQL Developer to the download location itself. So we will simply click on this extract to button, and it will extract the application to a folder named SQL Developer along with the version. So click OK. And the extraction is completed. Let's close this window. Let's refresh the window and order it, and we should be able to see the extracted folder. Here it is, SQL Developer. So now you need to copy this folder to any location of your choice. You can keep it inside the My Documents folder, you can keep it in the desktop, anywhere. So I will just paste it on the desktop. Let's open it, and there is a directory called SQL Developer inside it, and under that the second last application is the SQL Developer application that we wanted to use. Simply right click and send to desktop, create shortcut. Now let's double click to bring it up. And when it runs for the first time, it will give you this option to import any preferences from a previous installation. Since it is a fresh installation, we don't have to import anything, and we will simply click on this No button. If you want, you can check this box, allow automated usage reporting to Oracle. I will simply uncheck it, press OK, and this is the SQL Developer application console. Now we will test the connectivity to a test database from the SQL Developer application to make sure that everything is working as expected. But before we proceed, first you need to know that to connect to an Oracle database, apart from the username and the password pair, you need three things which are called connection parameters, which are first the IP address or the host name, which is the fully qualified domain name of the server. Second, the SID, that stands for system identifier or the service name of the database. And third, the port at which the database listener is listening for the incoming connection requests. If you are using a remote database, then this information you can get from the DBA of the database. If you are using a local Oracle database like Oracle Database Express Edition installed in your laptop or desktop, then you can use the local host as the host name. Then the SID will be ORCL, and the port should be 1521. In most of the local databases, which is created using Oracle Database Express Editions, these are the default parameters. In my case, I am using an Oracle 19c database in a Linux 7.9 virtual machine created using Oracle VirtualBox virtual machine in my home network. If you want to learn about Oracle VirtualBox virtual machines, how to install Linux operating system to create a virtual server, install Oracle database software to create and learn about world's most robust and powerful database, that is an Oracle database in a virtual learning environment, then please watch my other videos in the series named You the Oracle Expert, for which I have given the link in the description of this video below. Now let's come back to our connection testing. So to connect to a database, first we'll click on this green plus button, and on clicking, this window appears where first you have to provide the name of the connection. For example, I am going to create a connection to one of my test database named CatDB. So I will put a name, CatDB. Naming can be anything of your choice. It doesn't have to be the database name. It is in fact something that helps you know about the connection. And next you see that database type. So currently it will give only one option here, that is the Oracle option. As I mentioned before, SQL Developer is capable of connecting to a large number of different databases like Sybase, Teradata, MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, etc. But we have not installed all those components here, so we'll go ahead with only this Oracle option now. And the user information, where we have to specify what type of authentication we are going to use. Let's select the default authentication type. We'll learn about this OS and Kerberos later on. And the username that I'm going to use is system. And the role will be default again because the system user doesn't have this kind of roles associated. And the password. And also I have the option to save password so that next time when I want to connect using the same username, I don't have to specify the password again. Then the connection type will be basic, where I have to specify those 3 connection parameters that I mentioned before. That is the name of the server. In my case, it is admin server.manash.home. That is my home domain name. And the port is 1521. And the SID of the database is CatDB. And if I want, I can use the service name also. In my case, the service name of this database CatDB is actually catdb.manash.home. And before you click on the save button, you can test the connection by pressing this test button. And we see that the test was successful. It means now we can connect to the database, or we can save it for a future connection. So we will first save it. And once we click the save button, you see that the name appears here in the connection list under the Oracle connections. As the name that we specified here, CatDB, it is here. Now, if you click on the connect button, it is going to connect to the database named CatDB with the connection properties that we provided. And now the connection has been established. When the connection is established, the database connection icon gets a small plug on top of it, which means that there is a live connection. And it also gives a default editor to use for writing SQL commands or queries. Now we'll just execute a simple query. Select name, open mode, platform name from $database, and we'll execute this query. To run any SQL statement, you just need to put the SQL in this editor window, select it, and press this green play button. And we see that the name returned is CatDB, open mode is read-write, and the platform name is Linux x86 64-bit. That is the server where the database is currently running. Now, if our job is done, you always need to disconnect the connection or disconnect the session. To disconnect, select the disconnect menu item from the context menu that you get upon right-clicking on the connection icon. And you see that the plug disappeared, means the connection is closed. Now let's close this window. And when you close this window, it will ask for saving the contents of the editor. I don't want to save anything. Simply click no. And next we'll learn how to install SQL Developer in a Linux machine. Let's go back to our download page to download the installable for Linux platform. So SQL Developer can be installed on both Red Hat based and Debian based Linux distributions. For Red Hat based distributions like Oracle Linux, CentOS, Fedora, use the RPM based installations option, which is easier, and minimum Red Hat version should be Red Hat version 3. The same hardware requirement, around 1 GB storage, 2 gigs of memory, a minimum Pentium 4 CPU. For Debian based distributions like Ubuntu, Kali Linux, etc., use the zip archive based installation option, which is available under these other platforms options. In this tutorial, I will use the 64-bit Red Hat based Oracle Linux 7.9 platform to install the RPM based SQL Developer application. The steps to install it in the Debian based Linux is given in the description of this video below. And if you see that for Red Hat based distribution, we have to additionally download the JDK 11, which is mentioned here as JDK 11 required because it is not included in the installable itself. You can download it directly by going to this download page in your Linux machine. Since I am already here, so I'll just download it here using the download link. Again, we have to accept the license agreement and click on the download button. And the download has been completed. Now let's close this and click on the JDK11 link here to download the JDK11 RPM installers. In the next window, we see the JDK11 is available for different platforms here like Linux, Mac OS, Solaris, Windows, etc. Under Linux platforms, we will select the x64 RPM package, which is of size 160 MB approximately, and we'll click on this link here. Again, accept the license agreement and click on the download button. And as we can see that the download has been completed. Now let's go back to our download folder and order by the date modified, where we can see that both the RPMs are available. One is the SQL Developer application and the other is the JDK11. Now we have to transfer these both RPMs to the Linux host. I'm going to use FileZilla for this. So let's run FileZilla and connect to our Linux host named VM Linux 1. So this is our Linux host. I will simply connect as a root user. Then our files are available under downloads directory. Let's select both the RPMs and we'll simply transfer it to the temp directory of the server. You can see the progress, which is very fast, and the transfer is complete. Now we'll go to our Linux host. So this is my virtual Linux server named VM Linux 1, which I have created using Oracle VirtualBox virtual machine, and I have installed Oracle Linux 7.9 64-bit on this, and I just logged in as Oracle user. Let's start a terminal window and let's go to the temp location where we have downloaded our JDK11 and the SQL Developer RPMs, which we see here, these RPMs. So I'm using the root user to actually install these RPMs. Since the Oracle user already has sudo access to the root user, so I'll be using the command sudo rpm -uvh and the name of the JDK RPM, which is going to be installed first. Press enter. And the JDK installation has been completed. Next, we will do the same command, but this time we will be installing the SQL Developer RPM using sudo rpm -uvh, the name of the SQL Developer RPM. Press enter. And the installation has been completed. Now let's clear the screen. Then go to this location opt, and under that there should be a directory called SQL Developer. We'll do an lslrt, and we see this executable with an extension sh, which is going to be our executable. Now let's try to run it, and we can see the splash screen is coming. Although we see that the application is owned by the root user, but the execution bits are on for public, so the Oracle user will be able to run this. And as expected, we see this screen coming for a confirmation to import the preferences, which again we are going to click no. And the SQL Developer application has been up. We will uncheck this checkbox here, click OK. And here also we will do our test connection to our database named catdb. So click on this plus button here. We'll put the same name here, catdb. and all the other settings will keep the same way as we did in the previous installation. We'll simply put the name as system and the password, and we'll save the password, the name of the server, admin server.manash.home, port 1521, and the service name, which is catdb.manash.home. Let's test it first, and the test is success. Now we can save it, and also we can connect it. It will take a few seconds to connect, and as we see, the small plug icon appears there. It means the connection has been established. Now we'll execute the same query that we did in the previous installation in Windows also. Select it, click on the play button, and the query has returned the rows successfully, means our installation is successful. Now let's close this window. It will ask for saving. If you want, you can save. I will press no button. Now let's create a shortcut for the SQL Developer application on the desktop, so we don't have to start a terminal window each time to run the application. To do that, first we will go to the home directory of the Oracle user, home, Oracle, and under that we will go to the desktop directory, and we will create a file with the name SQL Developer .desktop, and in the VI editor we will simply put these lines here. Desktop entry version 23, that is the version of the SQL Developer application. Type application, terminal false, and execution is the part of the executable, that is under OPT SQL Developer, SQL Developer.sh. Name will be SQL Developer itself, comment SQL Developer, and the icon that is available in this directory, that is the icon that belongs to the SQL Developer application. Save it, and there is a desktop icon created. Let's close the terminal window, and this time we will try to run the SQL Developer application by double clicking on this desktop icon. Let's see. And the first time when we will try to run this application using this desktop shortcut, it will ask for whether it is untrusted application launcher or not. We will simply click on the trust and launch button, and as we can see that the icon has changed, the SQL Developer, and the application has also started. And now it is running. Let's close it. Now let's install it in a Apple Mac OS X platform. In this tutorial, I will use the 64-bit Mac OS Catalina 10.15.7 to install SQL Developer application. The minimum Mac OS X version should be 10.4.x. The same hardware requirements for this also, around 1 GB free space, 2 GB RAM, a minimum 1 GHz Z4 CPU, and I'm sure you will have higher configuration than that. Installing SQL Developer in Mac OS is super easy. Just download the zip archive that includes the JDK 11, unzip the whole archive, and move the application to desktop for easy access. First, we will start our Safari browser, and then we'll go to Google, and we'll search for download SQL Developer, the same way we did it for other platforms. Then go to this first link from Oracle, SQL Developer downloads. Scroll down and go to this platform, Mac OS X with JDK 11 included. Then click on this link, download the 462 MB installable. Accept the license agreement and click on the download button. It is asking for my Oracle account credentials. In case you don't have an Oracle account, you can create it for free using your email ID. Just click on this create account button and it will walk you through all the steps. It's very simple and it's free. I will use my personal email ID to log into my Oracle account. We can see the download is in progress, and we can see the download has been completed. Now go to the download location, click on this downloads icon here, and we will click on the SQL Developer, which is just downloaded. The jumping SQL Developer icon means it is currently processing. Actually, it is unzipping the zip archive. First, it is verifying the SQL Developer archive, and then once it is verified, it is going to open the application for us. Let's close the browser window, and it's asking for a confirmation whether we want to open this. Click on the open button, and the splash screen appears. That means the SQL Developer application is coming up. Now the SQL Developer application is up, and we are going to create a connection to our test database. Click on the plus button, then give a name to the connection, say CatDB, username system, password. Also, I'll save the password, and the host name will be the IP address of the server this time. It's because this Mac does not know the DNS of the database host, so that's the reason I'm using the IP address here. Port will be 1521, and the service name, that is catdb.manash.home. Let's test the connection, and the status shows success, means we can save it and click on the connect button. The connection has been established. Now we will execute the same query that we did before, that is select name open mode platform name from $, database. Let's execute it, and we get the result here, where the name shows the database name, open mode read write, and the platform name is the Linux x86 64-bit. Now let's close it and bring the application from the download location to the desktop so that it will be easier to start going forward. And as we know, it is currently inside the downloads folder. So let's right click and open the download location. And from there, we will simply drag the SQL Developer application to the desktop. Let's double click to see if it runs successfully. So it is up and running. Let's close it now. So this is how we can install SQL Developer in a Windows, Linux, or Mac platform. Although in this tutorial, I have just covered how to install SQL Developer application with a very simple test SQL query, I will cover more on SQL statements, SQL scripts, how to write them, how to do performance tuning, etc. in future tutorials. And also, I will cover more about SQL Developer as an application, its features in the field of data migration and copy, data modeling, session monitoring, etc., which are very useful for developers, DBAs, or data professionals. So I would say, learn this wonderful free application from Oracle and start your journey as a data professional. So viewers, please provide your feedback in the comment section of the video and hit the like button if you found it useful. That will mean a lot to me and help grow this channel.